build personal relationships. We are in the homes, we are in the community centers, we are in the organizations. We are just amongst the people, making decisions with them, interacting with them on a daily basis.
After the 2 years of serving the Peace Corps, I feel like I have brought something to the table. Looking back and seeing what I have given, I can honestly say that I've received 10 times as much back.
Explore how the Peace Corps can fit into your future. Be a volunteer.
Visit peacecorps.gov/be.
Your home for college basketball. Powered by Pepsi. WGSX in Nathan, Panama City. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Doing what other stations can't. The Afternoon Underdogs is live and local. Text or call into the Slim Chicken Studio. 850-215-6290.
Always be sure to listen for the dial tone.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Oh, welcome into the Slim Chicken Studio here on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon in Northwest Florida. Thank you guys for listening to the live edition of the Afternoon Underdogs today. I'm David Hayes. We've got Boston Tim, Old School, in the building. Give us a text on a Rib Crib hotline at 850-215-6290.
And we are, of course, on the radio. You're listening right now, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, Twitch, and, of course, our TV partner, blabtv.com. Be sure to like and share on the Facebook and subscribe to YouTube. Download our new app and register at 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we've got all of our nominations in for the ham and the turkeys, brought to you by Rib Crib, Panama City Toyota, teaming up with 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. And all families are invited to join us at Quorum's for a free, delicious Thanksgiving meal, Quorum Steak and Egg in Callaway. All you got to do is show up. It'll last until supplies last. So you get, first come, first serve at Quorum's, and share that out to your friends and family who may not have somewhere to go this Thanksgiving. Trivia brought to you today by Merchant Management Group. If you're a business owner, listen up. How much did you pay in credit card processing fees this last season?
If it was too much.
Let me finish. If it was $1,
that's too much.
If you want to eliminate that $1 or more fee, then give our friends over at Merchant Management Group a call. 850-747-0664. They're located right here in
Panama City.
Boom, and they will get you taken care of. And the question for today is, what was the lowest score in the history of the Florida State rivalry game? And for extra credit, tell me what year it happened, and we'll give you 2 tickets to Beat Down at the Beach. So you're looking at getting a $25 gift certificate to a restaurant of your choice out of Hershey's Ice Cream Shop, Mr. BG's Diner, Panorama Pizza, Rafffield Seafood, and Shore Dogs. All you got to do is tell me what the lowest score in the Florida State contest was ever. And for extra credit, tell me what year that it happened. Let's get into some headlines. You don't got to wonder anymore. Wander Franco will be with the Rays for the foreseeable future. He's 20 years old and agreed to a 12-year contract that guarantees him around $185 million. The deal is worth a maximum of $223 million, and the previous record was none other than our own Ronald Acuna Jr. with the Braves. He was 21 in 2019 when he signed an 8-year, $100 million deal with the Atlanta Braves. No doubt that the Atlanta Braves are getting a little bit better of a deal there, but the Rays, they play with their analytics. They at least seem to know what they're getting themselves into here. Do you guys think that Wander Franco will, be worth $185 million at the end of this contract?
And it's hard to say that he isn't. It's such a strong start but unfortunately an early start in his career. 12 years is a long contract, and guaranteeing that much is surprising. But it's in route and in path with what really is going on with baseball. They're trying to extend contracts like that so that way they can work the salary cap, so they can make, championship squads. And it's been successful with other teams, so I don't see why they wouldn't do it. I think they're going to be successful with it, and I really like to see what he does in the future because, man, he's exciting.
Yes, sir. What do you think, Old School?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's inflation. When Acuna signed, we were all like, "Wow, that's a lot of money for a kid that age." But it was for 10 years, and Ronald Acuna has been great. So everything that we see out of Franco right now, we think, "Wow, this kid's got it all." I just hope that some injury thing doesn't come up, or other issues, and that he gets to be the mainstay, the spark plug that he is for the Rays for a long time.
Yes, sir. In the NFL world, Jason Garrett, the New York Giants offensive coordinator, has been fired. Old school, what fires you up about that?
No, that's just Jason Garrett on the sideline.
Oh yeah. You don't see it's
Never
not
mattered what the score was.
It's not spotlighted as much since he's just been the offensive
but
coordinator.
I guess he's up in the booth now, so we don't get to see him on the
That's a good point. That's a good point. Freddie Kitchens is going to be taking over for him, at least calling plays, is what the speculation is.
Yeah, I mean, they think everybody would rather him go in there. Nobody's really been happy with the way the play calling's been going. They've only scored 42 touchdowns since he started in 2020, and that's by far the lowest in the NFL. They're doing even worse, than anybody last year at 17.4 points a game and at 0.5, and they barely are doing a little bit better this year at 18.9, less than a point and a half more. It really doesn't just do anything for the offense. I think they're 29th right now this year, and that's with some teams being incredibly bad. And, he's got a great roster as far as skill players goes and a decent offensive line. I don't know necessarily with all that we've seen from Daniel Jones that he's exceptional, but he should be at least serviceable with the quality of players that he has around him. So I think it was a great decision for Garrett to go. Where he goes now, I think, is the next question, and whether or not Freddie can lock that spot down next season.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal with Jason Garrett is, but he was the backup to Troy Aikman for years and years. A couple of times when Aikman got hurt, he did a great job. He's smart. I think he went to school at Harvard. But for just some reason, his aptitude or whatever as an offensive coordinator just never has really taken off. I mean, he's had moments where the offense for the Cowboys would be pretty good. He's had moments where it was good for the Giants, but in this case, overall, just anemic, just a little bit anemic, and just not as dynamic as teams need in today's NFL.
Yeah, it just seems that he refuses to adjust to the rest of the NFL. Right. You can't continue to work with something that maybe worked for one season with the Cowboys in the 8 years you were there and try to continue with that, and which is why you got fired over there, and then try to continue it again over here. It's just not doesn't make any sense.
Let's get over to the Rib Crib Hotline. We got Brian on the line. Brian, can you tell me what the lowest score in the Florida State rivalry ever was?
3-0.
Yes, sir. What year did that happen?
1960, September 24th.
Yes, sir. So here's how this is going to work. You just won $25 to one of 5 restaurants. You got Hershey's Ice Cream Shop, Mr. BG's Diner, Panorama Pizza, Rattfield Seafood, and Shore Dogs. And you also won 2 tickets, if you're available, for Saturday, December 4th to Beat Down at the Beach at a VIP table.
Nice.
Yes, sir. All right, do me a favor and shoot me a text over to the same number that you just called so I can handle your winnings.
Yes, sir. Thank you much.
All right. Thank you very much for the call, Brian. So there's been I don't know if it's true or not. I saw it on Twitter and scrolling when I was doing some research for today, but that he's got a meeting with the University of Florida. Jason Garrett does. So we'll see what happens there. But, Florida, LSU, USC, even Virginia Tech, those are, they're top job destinations. What are you shaking your head at over there, old school? Is it not a top destination?
No. Yes.
Oh, okay. You're laughing about Jason Garrett.
Just laughing.
Okay.
I had this feeling of I had a picture in my mind, a mental image of Kyle Albritton, and just how enthusiastic and excited he has to be if Jason Garrett is going to be named the head coach at the University of Florida. I don't know.
I don't think
any
that's the
Florida
di-
fans could get really excited about that.
I don't know if any fan of any team, unless he goes down to Division 2 or something like that. But if you're in Division 1 and you get the notification that Jason Garrett's about to be your head coach, do you just go ahead and say, "All right, save the money up for the buyout because that's what we're headed towards"?
I don't know.
I heard that he interviewed for the Flower Mound Rebels squad for the offensive coordinator there, and they turned him down. They said they greatly appreciate it, but
He wasn't good enough. So speaking there of that Flower Mound Rebels, the Texas youth football team with a perfect record, removed from the playoffs for being too good. So they've outscored their opponents 199-6. They haven't lost a game all season. The Keller Youth Association Vice President Rhett Taylor, whose team recently lost to the Flower Mound Rebels 33-0, said that the team actually plays too well to continue facing the competition in the rec league, something I've never heard of before. Maybe, at the end of the season, all right, you guys are good, we're going to have to bump you up a level. Hey, that makes a ton of sense to me, but not in the middle of the season, not after you just get done beating the vice president or whatever, and then all of a sudden, oh, now we're too good. What round of the playoffs this is, I'm not sure what it is, but this is ridiculous. Guys, give me your thoughts on the Flower Mound Rebels being removed from the playoffs.
No, I mean, absolutely. How can you just stop them right now? If you all come to an agreement as a community or the advisors of that particular league to let them to remove them from the league, then that's understandable. But you don't do it in the playoffs. You allow them to finish the league, which they're already dominating, and give them the championship that they've earned, and then move them into another league, or just kick them out of the one that they're obviously too dominant to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, I've spent a lot of time in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, which is where this is, Keller and Flower Mound, and this is just ridiculous. It's youth sports, and if this team is that good, well, let them win, and then say, all right, you know what? We're going to break you up, and we're going to take your best players and put you with other squads so that the overall programs for all of the teams go up.
Right.
You don't just in the middle of the season say, you know what, you guys are too good, we're kicking you out. Unless there's more here than what we're reading. I just don't get this at all. It's ridiculous.
Haters. That's what we got down there in Texas.
Haters. Well, let's go over something that we don't necessarily hate.
The only thing is, whoever the coach is, he needs to call Austin and talk
Austin
to
Siegel?
Chris, whatever Dodd, the AD for the University of Texas, and see if maybe they can pick him up.
Hey, not a bad idea.
There you go. Things could happen. Let's see. The Texans have released their running back, one of their running backs, Philip Lindsay, kind of weird. He was supposed to be one of the top twos with David Johnson. They even signed on Mark Ingram, and I think he's only got 150 yards on the entire year. So a little sad story there. The Titans, really surprising, hit 130 yards.
And it's surprising, because while he is considered a veteran, it's only his fourth season, right? And he played well in his first two seasons with more than 1,000 yards in both, and he steadily declined. But again, starting as a rookie in 2018, 1,037 yards, 1,010 the next year, and then he only started half the games the season after that because of an injury. In which point he had 500 yards, so he was still on pace for another 1,000-yard season coming out as a rookie. That's fantastic. So it's surprising that they didn't utilize him at all this year.
But he was playing for the Broncos that has a good offensive line. He's with the Texans.
Right. But they can't determine how good he is if he's only had 50 snaps the entire season.
Yeah, I don't know.
50 snaps. That's tough.
And the Titans,
I remember watching a Monday Night Football game where he was on, and he was impressive.
Yeah.
So
he's a good athlete.
Yeah.
And the Titans came out and waived Adrian Peterson. So that one is tough for me. It's puzzling. I don't really understand it. Your other running backs are Hilliard and Deontay Foreman. Deontay Foreman's looked a little bit. He's looked like he has more potential, but Adrian Peterson being an older running back, we didn't expect that out of him. But you look at the 9 for 40 for Adrian Peterson, and then you look at whatever it was for Deontay Foreman, which I believe was like 7 carries for 26 yards, somewhere along that, about a 3.5 average. And I just don't really get it. What does this signal to you that the Titans are doing by moving on from Adrian Peterson and still no Derrick Henry until January?
Man, I really wish I understood what they were doing. You know, do they have that much faith in the other guys? Do they know something that we don't know about?
Yeah.
You know, possibly Henry coming back earlier in the speculation of time that we were given.
That would be a
Maybe that's a
blessing.
possibility, but you can't say that he wasn't providing for the team, averaging more than 4.5 yards per carry in the short amount of time that he was there. That's more than serviceable. And so for me, it's a surprise that they let him go. It's a cheap contract, and a player that's willing to go out there and work really hard for you just so he can stay in the league. So I was very surprised for that. And again, on a personal note, I of course wanted to see him get that extra 350 yards and move up one more spot in the all-time rushing record list.
And for me, we're heading into a matchup between the Patriots. I felt like another running back would be beneficial, but we'll see. I mean, hey, let's put it all into the hands of the guy who just threw for 4 or 5 turnovers. Thanks, Ryan Tannehill. Thanks a lot. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're in the Slim Chicken studio, and don't forget, send your people over to Corms for Thanksgiving on Thursday. It's going to be a great time. We're going to be right back with Jason Staples talking some more Florida State football.
My weather forecast overnight, mostly clear, chilly, 40 to 45 by dawn, an east wind about 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, mostly sunny in the mid-60s, light east winds. Thanksgiving Day, partly to mostly sunny around 70. There might be a few showers Friday, highs in the mid to upper 60s, partly sunny. We'll keep you updated. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Mid-South Lumber, best little lumber yard in Panama City and Youngstown. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. The Paul Feinbaum Show.
And the way you stepped up to the plate, that's who you are. And there's nobody else in the business of any kind of radio that you would be considered a group of doing what you're doing. You've got a completely natural staff, and y'all do an outstanding show.
It's just a shot away.
It's just a shot away.
Weekday evenings, 6 to 10, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Kings by Blood Cleaners is your go-to for the cleaning of your office, home, or condo. Ready to remodel? Let Kings by Blood Cleaners do the demo work for you. Clean up or clean out commercial, foreclosure of homes, apartment complexes, and commercial buildings. Contact Kings by Blood Cleaners for a local, no-obligation free estimate. Kings by Blood Cleaners offers 7 days a week service so that it's convenient for you. They do things the way your grandmammy used to do it. Call Kings by Blood Cleaners, 850-704-8470.
There is a cat overpopulation issue in the Panama City area, and these cats suffer so many hardships and illnesses, it's heartbreaking. Most are easily treated if caught in time.
Upper respiratory issues have been the biggest ones this year. This causes eye infections that may result in ruptured eyes and even blindness. We also see broken legs, resulting in disability and even amputation. A vision-impaired cat with limited mobility has a grim existence on the street.
Every day, Hillary and her team at Kibbles and Cover's Animal Welfare Group are on the front lines of the cat overpopulation issue. Your team has been an incredible asset to the community and a voice for the voiceless.
It is a constant battle. The message we need to get out there is to spay and neuter. Whether it be your pet or community stray, TNVR helps tremendously in many, many ways, overpopulation being number one.
Follow Hillary Slayton on Facebook and be a part of the solution to the feline overpopulation issue in Northwest Florida.
Tyndall Air Force Base to the Hathaway Bridge. We are live and local. It's the Afternoon Underdogs, live from the Slim Chicken Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Slim Chicken studio right here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We are the Afternoon Underdogs, and now on the Rib Crib Hotline, welcoming in Jason Staples, former coach. He's a professor, and you can find him on the Unconquered podcast.com. He's also a contributor for Inside Carolina, and from all of my Florida State fans that know Jason Staples, by far the best podcast to get for if you're a Seminoles fan. Hey, Jason, welcome into the Slim Chicken studio.
Thanks. Good to be with you.
Absolutely. So we're 11 games into the season and coming up on the biggest game of the season for the Noles. What are some things that you've liked from this team this year, and what could have they done better?
I think the first place to start with what they could have done better is not call robber on the final 2 plays of the Jacksonville State game.
Amen.
Aside from that, I think there are a few things to really look at. I think the biggest thing is when you look at this team, they are 5-2 when Jordan Travis starts, and they've been a good football team actually with him in the lineup, as they've had an identity. Running a run-heavy team that will do some things over the top and play action and cause you some problems there. But basically, they've had an identity, and they've taken care of the football with him. I think, if my memory serves me correctly, he's only got 1 pick on the year, and so and he hasn't put the ball on the ground either. So you're looking at an offense that has taken care of the ball when Jordan Travis has been at quarterback, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons that they've consistently been in games. I mean, you think about the 2 games that they lost with him at quarterback, 38-35 in overtime against Notre Dame, and then the Clemson game where they were in that game to the very end. If you can run the football and you don't turn the ball over, you can put yourself in position to win a lot of football games, and that's what they've been doing with Travis at quarterback. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, I think, in terms of good things, is I think you've seen once they got the secondary solidified with the 5 guys that they're using right there in that secondary now, the 5 starters. Once they moved Jamie Robinson to Buck and then Kevin Knowles into the spot. Once they got those positions solidified, the defense has really made some strides in recent weeks, and I think. With all that, they've been able to use some of the matchup advantages that they've got up front, and they've become a pretty good football team. Now, again, the ugly is the Jacksonville State game. There's been some bad stuff as well. I mean, I think they made some decisions early in the year about what they were hoping to be at the quarterback position and trying to develop the offense in some directions that they just didn't have the personnel for. And then there's been some issues with injuries and all of that are really beyond their control that I put kind of in the ugly category as well. But overall, this has been about as good a season, minus that Jacksonville State game, as you could have expected from this group, given the roster, given all of the difficulties that they had coming in and a pretty difficult schedule. I would have said at this, and I said coming into the year, 6-6 would be sort of a pretty good result. If this staff wins 7 games with this schedule, with this roster, then they've really done something. Without calling robber on those last 2 plays against Jacksonville State, they'd be in position for at worst 6-6. So, I mean, overall, it's been a pretty good season. It's just that one thing that has kind of colored the season overall for Florida State fans and everybody who's paid attention down in Tallahassee.
What does the Seminoles offense need to do here against Florida to secure a victory?
Run a lot of power. Run a lot of power and counter. If you watch that LSU game, it was comical by the second half and what it looked like whenever LSU ran a gap concept run, Florida couldn't fit it, and they were basically running for 8, 10, 12 yards a chunk. I don't think it'll be that bad, but I mean, really, it does boil down to control the line of scrimmage enough to be able to establish a running game. If Florida State can run the football game in this game, they're going to win the game. To me, it's as simple as that. And the concern for me is with Darius Washington getting hurt at the end of getting rolled up on it at the end of the Boston College game. He's one of their best offensive linemen, and really they're in a position where they don't have the depth that they can trust on the offensive line. The drop-off between Washington and his replacement, who's most likely to be Brady Scott, is really, really big. So if he doesn't play, that really challenges their ability to control the line of scrimmage on the offensive line and take advantage of what has been a less than good Florida run defense on the season. But really, a lot of what they need to do is a lot of what they did against Boston College. I mean, Florida's going to do a lot of similar things and has some similar weaknesses. So establish the run and then pick your spots and hit some stuff in the play action pass game. That is who they are, and that's what they need to be able to do to beat this Florida team.
Let's look at the flip side of things. What's going to be the focus for the defense to slow down Emory Jones or a healthy Anthony Richardson and the Florida Gators?
Well, I think in some ways this is an old school football game. I mean, so many games in more modern football, you focus on trying to limit the passing game, but and that's your first priority. Don't get beat there. I think this Florida team, they at one point they were number one in the nation in yards per carry. It's a team that can run the football, and when they've been good, it's been because they've been able to run the football, and partly because both of those quarterbacks can move, particularly with AR-15. He's Anthony Richardson can run. Those guys are a threat with their legs. They're going to have to find a way to use the biggest strength on that Florida State defense, which is their defensive line. Can that defensive front and can those backers, and the backers have shown some improvement in recent weeks, can they make Florida one-dimensional to have to throw the football? And once again, to me, this is a game, it's an old-school game. The team that runs the ball and can stop the run or limit the run is the team that's going to win this game.
You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We got Jason Staples on the line talking Florida State football. In the past, Jason, we've had more meaningful games for this rivalry, but both teams here playing for a bowl game appearance. Which team does this game mean more to for next year?
Oh, I think it's definitely more for Florida State. This is a situation where, I mean, Florida just had their coach fired. They don't know who their coach is going to be next year.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that roster is going to transfer out. I mean, there's already guys who are, they're checking out and they're going to go to the transfer portal regardless of what happens in this game because they're just done in Gainesville. And, that team has kind of fallen apart and they're going to have to, no matter who the next coach is going to be, they're going to have to start that rebuilding process from, from zero. For Florida State, this is a big deal because this coaching staff has managed to get that roster, and maybe not every player on that roster, but that roster is bought in. And you can see that in recent weeks with how hard they've played, with the way that they've turned this season around. That team has bought in, and if they're able to beat a rival and manage to get 15 more bowl practices, basically, where you can develop a lot of the young talent on the roster, that goes a long way towards continuing the program momentum that has been built in the second half of the season. And the other thing is you think about the recruiting impact of beating both your rivals and taking control of the state of Florida. I mean, you go back to the 2010 season, Jimbo Fisher's first season at Florida State. Florida had been a pretty dominant in those Urban Meyer years, obviously, and that was the tail end of that. Miami was a more talented roster overall at that point. And Florida State managed to beat both Miami and Florida in that year. And they added to that with a really good recruiting class in 2010, and the recruiting class in 2011 was that much better. And I think, these rivalry wins may matter more for the junior class in terms of recruiting than the current senior class. But what that allows you to do is to basically establish that you've got program trajectory and that you're headed in the right direction. And that matters a lot for buy-in, for ensuring that this roster and also the guys that you're bringing in recruiting are completely bought into what you're selling. And that's a large percentage of having success and carrying success forward in college football is just having everybody bought into the same vision. And if you can do that, you get the work in the off season, you get, the consistency and assignment soundness and all of that you need to be successful. So to me, this is a really important game for Florida State to try to carry that momentum forward and show some proof of concept as they're trying to build this program on the foundation that Mike Norvell is laying.
Yeah, to me, it appears that the Florida situation has really gotten out of control. It's really going to be up to the senior leadership within the Florida team to hold that team together. And when you get into a game like this with rivalry, these guys know each other. They've played against each other their whole lives. The bragging rights is a big thing. For me, I'd love to see number 11 for Florida State just go crazy and just have one of those games where every time you look up, which we see that a lot.
Yeah.
Where he's in the backfield and just wreaking havoc. And, that's, for me, the key to the game, as you mentioned, was the defensive line for Florida State, controlling the offensive line and allowing the linebackers to roam free and create havoc.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's really so striking about Jermaine Johnson has been early in the year when I watched him against Notre Dame, when I watched him in those first few games, the thing that stood out, and it continues to stand out, but the thing that really stood out was his motor. The guy just does not quit, and how he plays so hard on every play when he's on the field. And my thought at that time of the year was, my goodness, there's no way he keeps up this level of intensity all season, playing the number of reps that he's playing and the number of reps that he's going to have to play, given the lack of depth behind him. And what's amazing is we're in week 11, and we're 11 weeks down, and I have not seen a noticeable drop-off there. The guy still is just tireless and, brings it every play. And there are 2 or 3 plays every game where he's initially blocked. It's not like he's just whipping guys with athleticism. He's initially blocked, and it's that second move, and it's just the dog-cussed stubbornness of him to refuse to stay blocked that results in a big play. And to me, that goes a long way. And I think that's one of the big reasons that you're seeing a shift in culture at Florida State, is when you see your best players that play that hard and work that hard, other guys start to match that level of play. And it's been amazing to watch that guy work this year.
Absolutely. Hey, Jason, thanks so much for joining us today. We're up against a break, but if you want to tell everybody real quickly where they can find your new book, The Idea of Israel and Second Temple Judaism, a new theory of people, exile, and Israelite identity.
Well, thank you for that. You can find it anywhere books are sold. So Amazon, bookshop.org, or Barnes & Noble, wherever. Those are available. They can be ordered from pretty much anywhere. But you can also find me at unconqueredpodcast.com. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jason. I'm probably going to be getting that book for my dad this year for Christmas. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs. We're going to be right back talking some Patriots football with Keegan Stifel.
It's the Coach James Hale Show, weekday mornings 7 till 9 on your station for the best local sports talk. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And I did say I think Spurs got his hand in it. They're talking to him.
Mark McLeod, who's been on the show before, he was posting last night. He wanted everybody to get some feedback. Who's going to be the next coach of Florida? Of course, I had to put my 2 cents worth. I put Steve Spurrier.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Oh, the colors of Christmas. Reds, greens, blues, and golds. Makes me think of the beautiful selection of color gemstone jewelry we have at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. And they're all on sale at 60% off. Rubies, emeralds, sapphires, blue topaz, tanzanites, and many more. On sale now through Christmas at 60% off at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. Have the perfect colors of Christmas under your tree this year and shop where Santa shops at Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
East 15th Street, Panama City.
Now open on Panama City Beach, it's the Juicy Seafood on Back Beach Road near Home Depot. If you like delicious, fresh steamed seafood, you're going to love the Juicy Seafood. Try their delicious steamed mussels with shrimp, snow crab, corn, and potatoes, all steamed to perfection with their own special spices and seasonings. Like your seafood fried? Try the fried shrimp or catfish baskets, fried oysters, and more. The Juicy Seafood in the old TGI Friday location on Back Beach Road.
I stay very active. For my 40th birthday, I ran a 50-mile race, and to train for that, I was running about 70 miles a week. But over the years, that's deteriorated to a point where even running a mile, my knee would swell, and the pain that I would have would sideline me for several days.
That's Shane Mosney's story that led him to QC Kinetics.
I elected to choose a combination regenerative therapy that helps my knee regenerate to a point where I'm able to get out and start running again. But more importantly, I left there with a lot of hope.
QC Kinetics natural biologic treatments boost your own body's ability to restore and repair damaged tissue with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery.
Those guys have given me back a part of my life that was deteriorating. I just ran my first 10K since my therapy, so I'm trying to pick a good half marathon to run, but my goal is to run another marathon, yes.
Call QC Kinetics, 850-270-3939. That's 850-270-3939. QC Kinetics, 270-3939.
The number one SEC call-in show is now twice as big. It's double the Paul Feinbaum Show. Weeknights starting at 6.
Okay, but also go faster.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs inside the Slim Chicken Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
If you didn't know, now you know. Twice as big as the Paul Feinbaum Show. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes. We've got Boston Tim, Old School, in the building with us. And we also have Alabama and Auburn on our air this Saturday at 1:30. Now welcoming into the Slim Chicken Studio, we've got Keegan Stifle, part of the Pats Pulpit and the Pats Nation podcast. Hey, Keegan, what's going on, my friend?
Not much. I appreciate you guys having me on.
And no doubt. So outside of the Colts, the Patriots might be the hottest team in the league right now. What have you seen from Mac Jones that has stood out to you, and do you think he could win Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing is mistake-free football. I think, especially in a system like New England, the whole idea behind what they want their quarterback to do is distribute the ball and don't do anything stupid, and he hasn't done that yet. So having a rookie quarterback not make mistakes is a special thing in the NFL, as we've seen over the past few years. There are a ton of guys who come in and kind of throw the ball all over the place. He doesn't do that. So that's the number one thing that he's done well. And in terms of Rookie of the Year, we've had arguments about it up here. Most think that he should because he plays quarterback and it's such a valuable position, but I'm of the belief that it's Rookie of the Year, not most valuable rookie. And Jamar Chase has been that guy for me. He's been the best rookie. He's been electric. So I personally would probably pick Jamar Chase, but I definitely think Mac is in the running, and he'll probably end up coming away with it.
Mr. Red Sleeves himself, Matthew Judon, creating a little bit of controversy for Pats fans and stomachs around the country. No mac and cheese for Thanksgiving. What's your take on that, Keegan?
Yeah, I mean, that's a wild take. I grew up down in the South, and if you don't have mac and cheese, then it's kind of not a holiday. So that's a pretty wild take. I know pretty much everybody around here also agrees that mac and cheese is go-to. It's got to be there. But I can see where he's coming from. His argument is that it's just cheese and noodles, which he's not wrong, but it's pretty damn good.
It's pretty damn good. That's a good way to put it. This Sunday, we've got the Titans and the Pats squaring off. How do these teams match up, Keegan?
Yeah, so really earlier in the season, I'd probably say that I would expect the Titans to roll the Patriots. But after the past few weeks and the role that the Patriots are on, I see it the other way. Tennessee has had such an issue with health and keeping guys healthy. They made 13 roster moves today, which is like unprecedented. They're signing guys off the practice squad. They're releasing the running backs they had come in to replace Henry. So they're kind of all over the place. I still think they're a really good football team. I just think they match up terribly with the Patriots. The Patriots don't make mistakes, and right now their defense looks like the best in football. They're number 2 in points allowed, number 3 in yards. I think they're top 10, top 5 in turnover differential. They're playing about as good as they have in the past 5-6 years on defense. And Tennessee's offense just being how one-dimensional they are now that Derrick Henry's gone, that they can't run the football, which means they can't run play action, which is what Tannehill excels at, so they have to just drop back and throw. No Julio Jones, so it's really just the A.J. Brown show. And the Patriots have a guy who can erase him in J.C. Jackson. So I think the Patriots roll in this one, pretty easily.
Keegan, after the Cowboys dropped us to 2-4 after Week 6, it was just a really dismal start to the season. Week 6, they were looking like we were surging to get a top 10 draft spot, and now over the course of time since then, we're really looking like we're surging towards the playoffs and the possibility of hosting a number 1 spot. Do you attribute that to the coaching that's been so phenomenal over time, or maybe the talent that we've added with the massive, free agency and, of course, the draft class that we had?
Yeah, I'd probably say a mix of both. I think the number one thing is just these guys having the opportunity to gel and really learn about each other. New England's defense specifically has always kind of been about, how you're able to use these guys in different packages and different roles. Versatility and, toughness is kind of how they've played their best football. And to get Judon's been rolling, obviously. He's the man up front that kind of makes everything go. But Dante Hightower took a little bit of time to get into it after taking last year off. Kyle Van Noy didn't really look himself the first few weeks of the season. J.C. Jackson, it took a little bit of time for him to get rolling. And now that they have, you mix that up with Kyle Duggar, is a second-year guy who's looking more and more like a star every week. Christian Barmore's a rookie. It took a while for them to trust him, but now that they do, he's their number one defensive tackle, and he's playing lights-out football, defensive rookie of the year level football. He's been phenomenal. So being able to get everybody in their roles, and it took a little bit of time for them to figure out where everybody should be playing, when they should be playing. But now that they have, I think that's what it really was. It was just taking time to figure out where and why and how these guys should be playing. And then on the offensive side of the ball, you've got a rookie quarterback. Let him figure out who his favorite receivers are, who he trusts. Ramondre Stevenson is he was a fourth-round pick this past year. He's come on in the past few weeks and looked like a really strong number 2 running back to take some of the load off of Damian Harris's shoulders. So it just took time for the team to get right and for everybody to figure out where they'll be playing and the role that they're going to be serving. And now that they have found that, they're rolling. So I think that's the number one thing that needed to happen was they need to figure out what they were going to be doing.
Excuse me, the coaching carousel is starting to ramp its way up, and we're starting to hear names thrown about. Do you think Josh McDaniels stays around with the Patriots, or could he be on the move after this season?
Yeah, that one's tough because after he came, that whole situation where he left for Indianapolis, he accepted the job, they announced it and everything, and then he, turned his back on them and went back to New England, and he's been there. I think it's been 2 years. This is the third season since that's happened. That kind of soured people on him, and I thought after that was the Patriots telling everybody that he's our succession plan to Belichick. We want him to take over. But as we've gotten further along, and Belichick, he's turned this team around in 2 years. From losing in the AFC wild card game in 2019, they sucked last year, and then they came back this year, and now they're a solid playoff team looking to contend. I don't see any reason why Belichick would want to move on or why anybody else would move on. So I think McDaniels, this is definitely his last chance at becoming a head coach. You don't get too many chances in the NFL. He squandered the first one. So I think he wants to find the right fit, but if that comes along, depending on who gets canned, these next couple of weeks, I think he'll probably take a job and look to move on. Because there are a lot of guys in the offensive coordinator realm that the Patriots will be able to pick from, from Bill O'Brien to Steve Sarkisian, maybe out of Texas, guys like that.
Keegan, being a role player is a very important thing in the NFL, and for some people, you typically can't stay around for a long time. But, the longest tenured Patriot we have right now is Matthew Slater, who's typically a special teams man. And I think he's probably one of the best all-time role players. Can we talk just a little bit about him?
Yeah, Matthew Slater's the kind of player where you ask somebody from New England who their favorite Patriot is, and if it's not Tom Brady or Julian Edelman or Rob Gronkowski, it's Matt Slater. And to be up there as a special teamer with those guys, that's 2 Hall of Famers and a no-doubt Patriots Hall of Famer that I just named, and he's up there with those guys. And I think he's probably been my favorite Patriot to watch over the past few years because there's no one in the world better at what they do than Matthew Slater. He's the best special teamer on the planet. I'll take that to my grave, and he has been for a very long time. I think he's Hall of Fame worthy. Just if you're the best player at your position, no matter what the position is, we've seen it with punters, we've seen it with kickers. He's the greatest special teamer of all time. So I think he's a Hall of Fame level player, and I think he gets the appreciation he deserves up here. Maybe not so much around the country, but you see when Twitter accounts like the NFL Throwback, they'll tweet something out about his career, and it kind of goes crazy because it really is so impressive what he's been able to do. He's been a phenomenal, prototypical Patriot, I think is the words that they use, and the leader that he's been, since his second year in the NFL. He took over a long-standing tradition in the Patriots locker room. After a win, they do a little breakdown, and he took that over from Teddy Bruschi his second year in the league, and he's done it ever since. So I think that speaks volumes to the kind of person that he is and the player that he is.
Keegan, the Patriots have a little bit of a rough stretch coming up. They got the Titans this Sunday. Then on Monday Night Football, they've got the Bills. They got 2 games with the Bills in the next 4 weeks.
Yep.
How do you think they'll fare with that, specifically the 2 games against the Bills?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, they kind of got the short end of the stick where people may not agree because it won't affect too much on the field, but in terms of the players, they're not getting too many days off here. Even on the bye week, they've got a Monday game leading into the bye week, and then a Saturday game coming out of it. So that cuts two days off of what a normal team would get. So that kind of stinks for them. But having that extra time to prepare for the second Buffalo game, I think, is great. You're on the road on a Monday leading into the bye. Then you get the bye, and then you've got a Saturday game against the Colts, and then you've got more time to prepare on the back end. So I think it's a good thing in terms of being able to prepare for Buffalo. If I had to pick, the winners of those games, I'd say they probably split. The teams take the home games just because Buffalo's so talented. But they're also pretty one-dimensional. They can't really run the football, and the Patriots' defense, if you can't do something, they're going to take away what you can do, and then you're dead in the water. So I think they probably split those 2 games. And it's big that they've got a bye week in between them, so they have a little extra time to prepare.
I've been a guy that was always a big proponent of Tom Brady, but one of his linemen has a house down here in Panama City, and I've got to know him a little bit. And he's probably one of the greatest centers that I could think of. Dan Copen is who I was talking about, part of the 18-sack team, and of course the 16-0 run. Do you have a specific player that you would consider your favorite, maybe outside of a Tom Brady or Gronkowski, that you want to talk about?
That's a good question. So I grew up, I was born in '99. I'm kind of a younger guy, but I grew up in the generation of those early 2000s defenses with Teddy Bruschi leading the way. And he was always my favorite player growing up. And I don't think anything could change that. He was exactly what you wanted out of a non-superstar middle linebacker, especially back then. He could stop the run. He always seemed to find a way to get to the football. The guy had like 11 or 13 interceptions, something like that, throughout his career. That's not something you see out of middle linebackers too much. So nose for the football, probably, drafted as a defensive lineman, had to move to linebacker because he was too small. It was a fun story. He had a stroke in 2005, came back, just so many things that he overcame. So he's one of those guys that I'm super impressed with. And then covering the team, as I've gotten into that realm of my life, Kyle Duggar, he's a new Patriot. If you can go watch Kyle Duggar Division II football highlights, I highly suggest it. It's very fun. A man amongst boys. And then he's moved up to the NFL, and he's continued to look like a man amongst boys. He'll stonewall a 300-pound offensive lineman and make a tackle on a running back, no problem. This is a 220-pound guy, safety, coming out of Division II, so he's super impressive as well. I really like watching those 2 players.
Hey, Keegan, tell everybody where they can find the Pat's Nation podcast and Pat's Pulpit.
Yeah, Pat's Nation podcast, spelled out just like that. It's not too hard. On Apple, Spotify. We're also on Twitter at Pat's Nation Pod. And then you can find me on Twitter at Keegan Stiefel. It's a little hard to spell. Just try your best, and you'll probably find me. And then Pat's Pulpit at Pat's Pulpit, patspulpit.com, where you can find my writing and all the Patriots coverage you need.
No doubt, and he does a great job, and the podcast is awesome as well. Hey, thanks, Keegan. You have a great one.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving, and enjoy the macaroni and cheese. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're going to be right back. Surprise call coming up in the next segment.
My weather forecast overnight, mostly clear, chilly, 40 to 45 by dawn, an east wind about 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, mostly sunny in the mid-60s, light east winds. Thanksgiving Day, partly to mostly sunny around 70. There might be a few showers Friday, highs in the mid to upper 60s, partly sunny. We'll keep you updated. This weather forecast has been brought to you by All About Garage Doors, your garage door repair specialist. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Tom Brady goes to New England. He takes over a team that's a playoff team. He takes over for Drew Bledsoe, wins his first Super Bowl. Got the greatest coach of all time. Interchangeable parts. Two things stayed the same, quarterback and the coach. I don't know if Justin Fields is better than Mac Jones. Is Mac Jones the best quarterback right now? Yes.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekdays 9 to 11 on ESPN, Northwest Florida.
Bill Bird Kia would like to say thank you to our customers for the support of this year. We will continue to be your local community dealer. Stop by today and test drive a new Kia and see why we have the best overall buying experience anywhere. You can test drive your holiday adventure in a new 2022 Kia Sportage. Purchase a new 2022 Kia Sportage and get up to $750 cash back. Bill Bird Kia appreciates you and will treat you like family. Bill Bird Kia, the original home of the 20-year 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by 2435 East 15th Street, Panama City, or anytime at BillBirdKia.com. You'll enjoy the way we do business.
Cashback offer from Kia America equal the purchase of a new 2022 Kia Sportage model and may not be combined with finance or lease offers from Kia Finance. Not all incentive programs are compatible. Limited time offer for well-qualified buyers. See dealer for complete program details. The 20-year 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 1/3/22.
What's up, everybody? David Pollock here with Bar Burritos. Did you know that Bar Burritos has 35 farm fresh ingredients? That means you have over 3,000 entree combinations that you can put on your plate. Luckily, Bar Burritos put together their 9 under 500 calorie menu, which features 9 different entrees that you can feel great about eating. Try the ground turkey salad with double protein, the mini chicken burrito, or my personal favorite Friday meal, fish tacos with guacamole. It's a winning play with Bar Burritos.
The mission?
Your mission, should you decide to accept it.
Save the panhandle from boring cookie-cutter radio. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. Live in the Slim Chicken Studio.
This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back, and we're the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. And we're right here in the Slim Chicken Studio, and this is Defend Your Stance. It's brought to you by Emerald Coast Damsel, Independent Damsel Pro for Damsel in Defense. All right, let's see here. Old school, which rivalry game in college football are you looking forward to the most this Saturday?
Well, that is a great question because there's a bunch of good ones. I'm very interested in seeing the Florida State-Florida game. And I'm also interested in I'm hoping and praying that Oklahoma State takes down the Sooners. I just think that would be fantastic. It's time again. I think about every 15 years they get it done, so I think that would be great. The Georgia game, Georgia Tech, it's not going to be much of a game, I don't think. So, but it's rivalry Saturday is just it's the best when you get to these games where it's interstate stuff going back and forth. These kids know each other. There's nothing they like better than to go out there and grab those bragging rights and talk about it all season, off season, and so these games are special.
Absolutely. And then you've got, like you say, interstate rivalries like the Auburn game.
Oh, yeah.
The Iron Bowl, I believe they call it, coming up is a huge, huge rivalry. And, of course, like you said, is starting in probably middle school. Some of these kids play together throughout their entire career, not middle school, high school, and they're getting recruited at the same time, and they get separated, and they still have either that rivalry or tension between them that they've had their entire lives. So it's a different level of game and level of entertainment when you have rivalries like that, and especially even if they weren't necessarily knowing each other growing up, the history of the games in itself with the kick six and going back decades, it really brings a lot to a rivalry. And then we've got other ones, where they're not necessarily huge rivalries, but maybe a number 4 versus a number 6. Are we really going to decide if Michigan's a real team this year? Yeah. And this is the game that we find that out when they go up against number 4 Ohio State. And if Ohio State is the team that we think they are, they'll probably put Michigan down and solidify their spot in the top 4.
But the one game that has always, honestly, before I came to Panama City, was not very familiar with was the Egg Bowl. But it seems like the last 2 or 3 years, there's always some I don't know, incident, some kind of thing that happens either in the end zone or, there's a fight ahead of the game. There's always something happens in the Egg Bowl. And plus, you have two of the wildest coaches from a personality standpoint between Mike Leach and the Pirate. And, then you got Lane Kiffin, Mr. Tweet himself. I mean, that game could be anything. There's just no telling what could happen there. And so, these kind of rivalry games, especially with coaches, that it just makes it special.
Yeah, and then, while we did see a loss out of Michigan State, we know they're a solid team. And for Penn State to have to go over there into Michigan State and compete against the Sparties, I think it's going to be a tough game. But they're actually favored to win this game, even though they're unranked against the number 7 Michigan State. So I think that, Vegas knows a little more than I do. So I'm interested to see that game as well.
We've been waiting for Michigan to make a statement at some point, and hopefully maybe this game is the one. For Michigan Eddie, I hope it is. Otherwise, it's another tough weekend for Michigan Eddie.
Let's hear Austin Siegel make a statement on the Rib Crib Hotline. Austin, go ahead. What's up, my friend?
Hey, what's going on?
Not a whole lot, man. Just bringing in some waters.
Oh, yeah. I like the new the Afternoon Underdogs. I love it. My first time calling into the new show, so.
There you go, man. So tell us about the season. Where'd you guys end up? I know the NAIA playoffs are going on right now.
Yeah, we ended up 7-3, which ties our best record in school history. We had that 2 years ago. We ended up losing to Valley City State by 1 touchdown on a crazy play. We were driving down on them to tie the game, or at least tie the game, and we were going to go for 2 to go for the win. But we had a big old 40-yard reception, and our running back was running down the field, and he got tripped and fumbled the ball, and we ended up losing with 10 seconds to go. It was pretty heartbreaking. And then we ended up playing Dickinson State last game of the year, and they worked us pretty good because of injuries and just things happened. But so we ended up 7-3 isn't bad though. So we'll something to build off of.
I understand you have some big news.
Yes. So this also pertains to a similar thing. I've begun the process of getting the paperwork done to get released from the Waldorf football team. I won't be going to Waldorf anymore. So I just wanted to break that news to you guys.
Are you going into the portal?
I am going into the portal. Yeah.
You sound so excited to be one of the many in the transfer portal.
It's a scary thing. There's 3,000, 4,000 kids in the portal, and I actually just saw a statistic yesterday. 56% of the kids that go in the transfer portal, they don't make it out. 56% get stuck with nothing. And, obviously, I don't think I'll be one of those 56, but just seeing numbers like that, it really shows you, though, it's a fight.
Do you have your eyes on a particular program?
Yeah, I actually today, because today was the first day that I was legally allowed to communicate with other coaches. I've already gotten 3 message backs. One of them was an NAIA school in Kansas. Another one was an NAIA school up in Michigan. And then there's a D3 out in Tennessee. So, that's just a start. So.
Ooh.
That's great.
Hey, that Tennessee sounds pretty good because it's a little bit closer to home.
Oh, yeah.
I'm loving it, man. So, Old School wants to ask you a question. I'm tired of interrupting him.
I just want to know what was the reasoning behind it? What was the decision tree that you went through to come up with that decision to enter the dreaded portal?
Well, I'm not going to badmouth Waldorf I'm going to leave it graciously, but there's just some things that happened this season that indicated to me that it was time for me to go ahead and go. There's just some things that were said and some things that were done from the coaching staff part of things that I just didn't quite agree with. And the program that it is right now is not the program that I walked into day one. And I just feel like, and all the guys that I came in with as a freshman 4 years ago, they're not going to take their COVID year. So they're all going to, go on and go be adults and be grown-ups and put football in their past. And I have 2 years of eligibility left. And if there was ever a time to do it, now was the perfect time. Everything just matched up too well.
So what are you looking for in a program?
Well, the one of the main issues with Waldorf was like I was stuck as a second stringer, as a rotational guy, and the guys in front of me were pretty locked into their places, and because I mean they were 3-4 year starters and all conference players, and I mean they're just one of those guys that you can say they're a safe bet to start. And so all I'm looking for is a open competition type situation where a team had a lot of outside linebackers leave, and they're getting in a lot of transfers, and they're just going to let guys fight it out. That's what I want. I don't want any. I've been telling coaches I don't want any promises about playing or anything. I just want a competition that's open and something I can go fight for.
Quickly here, Austin, less than 30 seconds before we get to the hard break. Are you going to finish the semester out, the next semester at Waldorf, or will you be here for the Christmas break and figure out what's next for you?
Oh, no, I'll be down there for Christmas break, and I'll probably go to a new school next semester.
Okay, that sounds good. Hey, Austin, thank you so much for the update, my man.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. We'll have you in the building with us during your Christmas break.
Oh, yeah, I'll be there.
Absolutely, man. That sounds great. Love to hear it and love to see the man making moves. You're listening to 104.3 Afternoon Underdogs. Be right back, Brad Law.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Mike Greenberg is Greeny. Matt Jones graduated from Alabama in 2.5 years with a 4.0 GPA and has a master's degree. There's no substitute for smart. Smart is valuable, and that's the most important thing to be as a quarterback. He's got enough arm and enough athletic ability for his smart to put him over the top. He's the best of the quarterbacks in this draft. I would not be stunned if they win the championship this year.
Weekday afternoons from 2 till 4. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Dr. Chad Mitchell, orthopedic surgeon specializing in sports medicine and joint replacement of the knee, shoulder, and hip. He serves our local athletes and our community. Southern Orthopedic Specialist has been the leader in orthopedic care for over 20 years. New patients are welcome. Call 850-769-KNEE to schedule an appointment. More about Dr. Mitchell and Southern Orthopedic Specialist is available on their website, southernorthopedic.com. Southern Orthopedic, getting you back in the game.
That Cajun Place and football. Two words that just go together.
There's nothing better than watching sports at That Cajun Place. 60-cent wings at $5 pitches during all live games. Monday nights, Ronnie Shriver from 4 till 7. College football all day. Sundays at That Cajun Place, NFL all day. Plus music from North Shore Jazz Band. Sunday brunch from 10 till 2. That Cajun Place, 5801 Thomas Drive.
Come on to DCP and watch out for Banana Sweet Tea.
That Cajun Place and football. Two words that just go together.
As a proud graduate of Auburn University, Waylon Thompson is excited to sponsor Auburn football this season. Jay Manuel of Manuel & Thompson hopes that players and fans alike remain injury-free. But if you find yourself injured through no fault of your own, call us at Manuel & Thompson. Helping injured people, that's what they do. Manuel & Thompson, 850-785-5555. Manuel & Thompson, 850-785-5555.
Serving the universe from the greatest location in the nation. Powered by Pepsi. WGSX in Nathan, Panama City. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Are you ready for some football? So are the folks at That Boot Store. They have the latest in Western outfits, along with brand names like Wolverine, Timberland Pro, and many others, including Ariat and Old Western for kids. That Boot Store loves the Noles, the Gators, the Tigers, the Bulldogs, and Joe's favorite, Roll Tide. That Boot Store, your team's favorite Western shop, next to Bill Bird Kia on 15th Street. Open Tuesday to Thursday, 9 to 5, Friday and Saturday, 9 to 5:30. Remember what Joe always said, keep Jesus in your heart every day.
There's no need to fear.
The Underdogs are here. The Afternoon Underdogs are on the air.
What time is it?
Live from the Slim Chicken Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
All right, welcome back into the Slim Chicken Studio. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, and we're the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes. We've got Boston Tim and Old School in the building. Now welcoming in on the Rib Crib Hotline, Brad Law, the Director of Broadcast Operations for Auburn University. Brad, how is it going?
It is going very, very well. 48 hours from now, we will have all, hopefully, most of us will have had turkey and dressing and the pie of your choice, and we will have spent a lot of time thinking about all the things for which we are thankful. And it's an exciting time of year. We have basketball. We have Rivalry Saturday coming up. We have a lot to be thankful for. So we're doing well. Hope you are too.
Yes, sir. We are doing well. And so, Brad, you brought up the pie. Is it pumpkin or pecan for you?
You know what? It's actually neither for
Sweet
me.
potato.
I'm not a big pie guy.
Oh.
Not a pie guy, but now my wife makes pumpkin roll. Do you guys know what pumpkin roll is?
No.
I don't think I've ever had one, Brad.
You must share.
I do. So just like a Swiss cake roll is chocolate cake with a cream filling rolled up in a spiral form. Pumpkin roll is like pumpkin spice cake with a cream cheese filling rolled into a spiral. And let me tell you now, that's worth waiting 364 days for right there.
No doubt. So he's a pumpkin roll type of a guy. So another fast start for Auburn here, and then another kind of meltdown after the second quarter. What went wrong for Auburn, Brad, after the first quarter?
Come on. Don't you guys want to talk about more Thanksgiving food?
Let's do it. whichever way you want us to vote, Brad.
You're the future president, whatever you say.
No, I mean, you come out and you start fast, and then it's all about finishing. And it's another week where, the Tigers just weren't able to do that, and you're sort of left wondering why. And we were, and I think the team was, the coaches are. The coaches are tired of talking about it. They're ready to see some action. The players are upset and they're frustrated, and they don't know why. I don't know that they can pinpoint a reason why, but you got to figure it out because it doesn't get any easier this Saturday. Credit South Carolina. Now, South Carolina had a third-string quarterback, and they ran the ball almost 3 times as much as they threw it. And credit their coaching staff. They found something that was working. And they were going to continue with that until Auburn made them stop. And Auburn never made them stop doing what they were doing. And it was just enough to win. And Auburn had just enough mistakes in the red zone and at the end of drives where they were running the ball up and down the field that they weren't able to cash in on, that Carolina was able to get just enough to hang on there at the end. And would have been nice to have seen what would have happened with that last 2-minute offense, but it didn't get that opportunity. So you got to fix it because again, it's even tougher competition Saturday for sure.
Yeah. So Brad, what's the feeling in the locker room? Do you get the sense that the guys are checking out, or that they are fully invested in trying to finish the season strong? I mean, can't be hard for an Auburn player, at least it shouldn't be for an Auburn player to get up for the Iron Bowl, but where do you think they're at mentally?
Yeah, there's no checkout, and I, a lot of people will tell you that, and you would have expected me to say that, but let me say that with credentials. I'm physically in the locker room when the game is over because part of what I do with the network is post game interviews, and I'm not out there saying, "Hey guys, put on a brave face." I'm in here. You got media in here. I'm kind of tucked away and out of the way as the players come in. And there was a lot of emotion. There was a lot of frustration. There are a lot of guys who care about football in that room. And these are guys who have never, while they've been in Auburn, many of them didn't have it in high school either, lost 3 games in a row. They're angry. They're frustrated. Guys who check out, they just kind of come in and they get dressed and they go to their Instagram or their Snapchat or whatever, and it's on to the next thing. That was not the case in Columbia. There was a lot of emotion, and I thought Coach Harsin did a really nice job of not feeding the emotion, not pouring gasoline on the fire, but saying, "Hey, you're angry, you're frustrated. What are you going to do with that frustration? Are you just going to be angry? Are you just going to be frustrated? Or are you going to let those emotions fuel the actions that you take? Are you going to let those frustrations and not wanting to feel the way that you feel right now, are you going to let that frame the work that you do on Sunday, the work that you do on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in practice? It's one thing to feel a certain way. It's another thing to let those feelings be the rudder, be what controls you. Whereas what you want to do is you want to harness some of those emotions and some of those feelings. So with the Iron Bowl Saturday, and with most of the roster coming from the state of Alabama, no, there's no checkout. This will be just as fiercely contested as as any Iron Bowl has been at Jones Stadium, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I could imagine if Coach Harsin had one of his players not up and ready for this game, it would probably be the last time that'll be seen in an Auburn uniform. Bryce Young's coming off of a huge 561-yard performance, but he hasn't had the greatest protection this year, Brad. What do we need to see from the Auburn defensive front to slow down the passing game?
Yeah, I think you'll see some chances taken. The offensive line for Alabama is really good. The defensive line for Auburn has struggled at times to get pressure with four, especially early in games, and so they're having to bring guys off the edge, bring linebackers up the middle. You have to force Bryce into situations where he shows his youth. Now, he's very good and he's very talented. He's got some outstanding talent up front protecting him, and he's got all-world receivers on either side. So what you have to do is force him to make the decision faster than he would like. And I think you do that with pressure. And I think that Derek Mason and company have to be selective about how they disguise pressure, how and where they bring the pressure, and they have to be careful not to fall into predictable situations where, 2 or 3 times it comes from the same side out of the same look. I mean, it really does need to be as well disguised as it's been all year. And I think that's how you can put him off balance. Bryce Young's going to complete a bunch of passes. He's probably going to pass for a lot of yards. What Auburn has to do is keep the huge play from happening, the 50, 60, 70-yard touchdown from happening, try to keep plays in front of them, and then try to tighten up in the red zone. Auburn's been good red zone defensively this year. You try to squeeze the field and give Bryce Young and the Alabama offense a little less room to operate. They're going to score points. The thing for Auburn is Auburn's going to have to score points as well. They're going to need points to keep up with what Alabama has done consistently all season long offensively.
Well, we know Alabama is a great team on the road, but over the course of the last 4 times that they've visited Jordan-Hare, we know that they've lost 3 of those in 13, 17, and 19. But we know that, of course, Auburn in all 3 of those games was a ranked top 15 or better. Do you think that the atmosphere and the environment there will play a big enough role to make a difference in this game coming up?
I think that the atmosphere and environment will be just as great as it was in 19 and 17. The atmosphere was fine in 15, and it was obviously great in 13 as well. Auburn wasn't favored in any of those 4 games,
right,
and they still won 3 of them. So I don't think so much that the atmosphere has a ton to do with how the game is played, because I think that takes away from the preparation and the work. Now, certainly, we've seen in the past, I think 2017, you saw 2 snap infractions against Alabama because of crowd noise. In 2019, on the last drive where Alabama went down and attempted a field goal that doinked off the upright, there were a couple of false start penalties on that drive. So you've seen procedurally the crowd can have an effect. And I do think that the crowd will be, while they can't make a tackle, catch a pass, or hit a gap, they can make some real difference in the game. And yes, 100%, I expect the atmosphere to be every bit as keyed up as it's been for any other recent Iron Bowl at home.
Well, Brad, we know there's been some disappointments the last 3 weeks, but overall, what letter grade would you give Coach Harsin on this first year at Auburn?
I would say you're still at an incomplete point because year one and not to the end of the first season yet. You're still trying to instill culture. You're still trying to instill in guys what you expect. Again, not just on Saturday, but on Sunday, and their day off is Monday. So Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the work that you have to put in. and now there'll be another entire off season, and really one full off season from the end of the last regular season game through the bowl game, through spring, and what have you. So I think we're still waiting to see. This is the first time Brian Harsin has lost 3 games in a row as a head coach.
Man.
Didn't do it at Arkansas State, didn't do it at Boise, and now 3 games in a row at Auburn. So this is brand new for him. He detests losing. I don't know that I've ever been around an individual who hates losing and is affected by it the way Brian Harsin is affected by losing in the immediacy of the games. And I think that feeling fuels the work that he puts in. One of the questions I asked him in the interview is, do games like this give you another example to give to your guys that the margins for error in this league are razor thin? And it was a great answer, and he answered the question, but at the end he said, to be honest, I'm tired of talking about that, and I'm ready to do something about it. He's not a talker, he's a doer, and if it's incomplete, I think he's going to continue to work tirelessly until the mission is done and until the team plays consistently the way he wants them to play.
Hey, Brad, we're up against a break here, but thank you so much for some more insight on Auburn football and all things Auburn, and we hope you have a happy Thanksgiving.
My pleasure. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody down near the coast as well.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks so much, Brad, and enjoy the Iron Bowl this Saturday. We've got it right here on our air, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Coverage starts at 1:30. All right, when we get back, we'll be talking to Andrew Spivey of the Florida Gators.
My weather forecast overnight, mostly clear, chilly, 40 to 45 by dawn, an east wind about 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, mostly sunny in the mid-60s, light east winds. Thanksgiving Day, partly to mostly sunny around 70. There might be a few showers Friday, highs in the mid to upper 60s, partly sunny. We'll keep you updated. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Mid-South Lumber, best little lumber yard in Panama City and Youngstown. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
Only 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida could bring sports fans like you an app this powerful. The sports content you crave is always on. Live stream us everywhere you go. Now with upgraded programming and live game schedules, you'll always know when the Atlanta Braves and your favorite games are playing. Plus, interact with our local hosts in real time and so much more. The new app for the sports fanatic is available at the Apple Store and Google Play. From 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby! The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Is that the sound of an ooey gooey, cheesy, crunchy slice of P-I-Z-Z-A? Obviously. But as good as that sounds, we think it can get even better. Oh yeah, that's the sound of a freshly opened fizz-filled Pepsi. The only thing that can take this flavor medley of crunchy dough, mouth-watering cheese, and savory sauce to the next level. How about another bite? Pepsi and pizza sound like a match made in heaven and taste even better. Pizza, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Are you concerned about safety when you travel? Emerald Coast Amsel specializes in self-protection. They offer a full line of safety products like men's and women's RFID wallets and concealed carry for purses, lifetime incidental replacement plan, and manufacturer's warranty on most items. Give the gift of self-protection and contact Michelle and Rick today, 850-358-2810, or visit their website at emeraldcoastdamsel.com. Emerald Coast Damsel, independent damsel pro for damsel in defense.
When you want a big-time sports show, tune in for the Afternoon Underdogs.
I'm going to send you up against the best.
Weekdays from 4 till 6.
Negative, Ghost Rider.
Live from the Slim Chicken Studio.
Grenade for speed.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back inside the Slim Chicken studio. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. And we've got a great triple header for you coming up not just Thursday, but Sunday as well. 2 days this week on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida are going to be triple headers with NFL football. We'll get into those games after we get off the line with Andrew Spivey, who's a writer for GatorCountry.com. Andrew, welcome into the Rib Crib Hotline.
How are you guys?
Hey, we are fantastic. A little bit better than the state of the Florida Gators program at this point in time. We know that Dan Mullen has been let go. Who's on the list to replace Dan Mullen?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't know that it's a bad time for the state of Florida. I think that there's a lot of hope that whoever comes in is can right the ship and get things going. I kind of say that it's better to make the move now than to go through another season thinking we should have made the move. Billy Napier, Bob Stoops, Luke Fickell, those are the three names that I'm told are the highest on the list right now for Florida. And, it's reportedly just kind of Billy Napier and Bob Stoops. Honestly, Luke Fickell kind of looks like the odd man, that third man right now. So eyes are on Napier and on Bob Stoops.
Is there any chance, I've heard some murmurs out there of Jason Garrett having a meeting with Florida. Is there any truth to that?
No truth. That would be a disaster.
That's exactly what we were talking about when we read that off, and this was off the air. It was like, oh my gosh, that would be absolutely terrible for Florida and their fans.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. He got fired because he couldn't call plays. The Giants didn't do very well in Dallas. He's not the CEO type you want running your program. Whoever comes in needs to be the CEO type, and I think that's what kind of makes Billy Napier and Bob Stoops two names that are really high up there. Is they're CEO, GMs of the program. They can really build the program. There's a lot of misfunction, disorganization right now in the program. They need somebody to come in and steady the ship.
Well, with Bob Stoops, he's been out of the coaching world now for 6, 7, 8 years, almost a decade. Is there any concern in your mind about bringing a gentleman in who's kind of been out of the game other than as an announcer or as a coach for a defunct football program? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of concern. The game's changed a ton in the past 5 years than it was. And, obviously Bob Stoops was a heck of a football coach, was a winning football coach, was a really good recruiter. There's concerns there. There's obvious big-time concerns, but there's also the fact that, okay, he's going to come in and he's going to really right that ship. He's going to come in and give instant credibility to that logo. He's going to come in and get things stable again. How long he's going to get things stable? That's a question, and that's something that I've been told is, if it does go down the road of Bob Stoops, it's going to be that he brings a young OC with him to kind of groom into being that head coach in waiting. So, whether it's 3 or 4 or 5 years when Bob Stoops decides to retire, they have that guy ready to go. And, a name I would love to see is a guy like Brian Johnson, who just left Florida. But if you hire Stoops, it's got to be that he's bringing someone young to kind of groom into that. Because if not, you're going to be back in this situation again in 4 years or so, because we know Bob Stoops, that's about as long as he's going to coach.
Well, continuing on conversing about the coaching, what would you say Florida specifically is the single most important thing that they're looking for in the next head coach? Would you think it's a recruiting because of all that we lost with Mullen, or do you think there's some other attribute that they'd be looking for?
I think there's a couple things. A, you have to love to recruit. You have to love to recruit. You have to be organized. And you have to really know how to build a coaching staff around you and understand that not always your buddies are the ones that are going to make you win football games. And when you're the head football coach, you're the GM of your program. You have to make the decisions that are best for the team they're the school that's paying you. And recruiting. I mean, recruiting is the lifeblood of every program. If you hate to recruit nowadays, you better hope the NFL wants you.
No doubt. So, in your opinion, Andrew, who do you think? Which team this coming up Saturday has more to play for out of Florida State and the Florida Gators?
I think both of them do. I mean, when you look at Florida State, Florida State's a team that, I guess they're on the rise. I mean, if you call 5 wins on the rise, but they're a team that's trying to get things going under Norvell there. So getting to a bowl game and not only getting to a bowl game, but beating your rival to go to a bowl game and making your rival stay at home, even though it is through a coaching change, is huge. On the opposite end, Florida has a lot of guys that are seniors that want to go to a bowl game. They have some young guys on the offensive side of the ball that, haven't played a ton that would play a lot in the bowl game. They need that extra practice, those 14 extra practices for the bowl game. So I think you can make the argument either way. I mean, I guess if you're looking at an overall picture, it's probably bigger for Florida State is in terms of long-term success. I mean, you lose this game and it's kind of like, man, did we really get better in year 2 in Mike Norvell's tenure? I think you can make the argument that you didn't.
Another great point. Who do you think is going to be going this weekend for the Florida Gators? Will it be Emory Jones or Anthony Richardson?
Yeah, Emory Jones actually suffered an injury on Monday afternoon and was not able to practice on Tuesday. He has an ankle injury, and so his status for Saturday is very, very much in question. Anthony Richardson took all the snaps today at QB1, and so I would say, it's probably going to be Anthony Richardson. Again, I mean, do you push Emory Jones to play in a game? It's 2 5-5 teams if he's not healthy and risk something else. I think the answer to that's no. So if I was betting right now, it's Anthony Richardson, and the question is who's number 2? Is it Del Rio Wilson or Jason Kitna? And Kitna's been the guy kind of all year. He's been that third quarterback that's traveled to a road game, so it's probably Kitna. You have to wonder about that because Anthony Richardson has struggled at times staying healthy. I mean, he's been unavailable 2 out of the last 3 games because of that. So, but big news and a good chance for Anthony Richardson to really show against the team that's not the number 1 team in the country in Georgia just what he can do.
Well, to go back to the coaching situation, do you think that this search is this a search that can take time and really thoroughly look around for a long period of time, or is this something that needs to happen quickly because there's been an exodus of a lot of players going to the portal, also a number of the commits to Florida that have now decommitted and are committing with other schools. Is this something that needs to happen quickly, or can they really take their time and get the right guy?
The politically correct answer is they got to find the right guy. The real answer, it needs to be done soon. It needs to be done next week. You're looking at a new age of college football where guys can hop in the portal in a heartbeat. And there's some guys at Florida. Anthony Richardson's one of them. Several guys on the defensive side of the ball that teams around the country are going to want. And they're going to be sought after, and they're going to be contacted, I'm sure, or their family's going to be contacted, even though they're not supposed to be. So you have to. Florida's recruiting class is in shambles right now to 12 members in the class, and still a lot of room to be filled there. They have a lot of room that needs to be filled in the transfer portal, especially on the both sides of the line in the trenches. So getting a hire made Monday or Tuesday of next week, in my opinion, is huge. The kind of curveball in all of this is if it is Billy Napier, he's playing in a Sun Belt Conference championship next Saturday. So how does that work? If you're Billy Napier, do you really want to be announced as the new Florida coach, a few days before you play in a Sun Belt championship? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Most coaches would say no. So that throws a curveball and everything, but they need a coach in place. And if it is Billy Napier, by Saturday night, he needs to be on his way to Gainesville and be recruiting on Sunday.
Well, we slide over real quick and talk about the 4-0 start that the Gators have had on the basketball court. You guys are looking really good. You've got 4 players averaging double digits in points, and Guy Fleming coming off the bench just behind at just over 9 points. The offense is looking exceptional. I think they're averaging about 75 points a game. Can we just talk about them and the upcoming matchup against Ohio State and the Fort Myers tip-off, and what can we expect from that game?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for Florida right now is they were in the 100s as far as youngest team. They were one of the younger teams in the country the last 4 years. Now they're in the top 10 as an older team. This is a team that has some veteran presence. Now, these guys haven't all played together. They're mostly transfer portal guys. But they're still older veterans who have been through the grind of a college basketball season and understand the ups and the downs that you're going to go through and the bumps and the bruises of handling the schedule. So I think that's one of the biggest things for me. And I think in particular, after beating Florida State, you didn't really have a letdown against Milwaukee. Milwaukee's got one of the better players in the country inside for them, and then you didn't have a letdown against Cal, even though you didn't shoot the ball very well in the first half. So that's the key, and then they're playing really good defense. I mean, this is a team that is just playing, 40 minutes of really tough man-to-man physical defense that Mike White wants them to do, and that's allowing those guys to get out in transition on the offensive side of the ball. So, we always say defense leads the offense, and that's exactly what's happened. It's what Mike White's wanted for his entire tenure at Florida. He just hasn't had it. And then offensively, he's kind of changed his offense up a little bit. He's kind of going to more of a spread it out and let his guys just go up and make plays. And Colin Castleton's doing a really, really good job of that inside. You got Myron Jones at the point that's doing a really good job. And then Anthony DeRucci's probably the guy who's improved the most. And he's had a really, really good 4 games so far, not only just driving the ball, but he's also been shooting the ball at a really high percentage. So, I think it's kind of been a lot of things that's really went into this. And I guess the thing that's helped that is the veteran presence this team has got.
Yeah, absolutely. DeRucci's looking great, shooting 67% from the field is unbelievable. It's really great to see, and like you said, the transfer portal really worked out for you guys this year. So I'm anxious to see what happens in Fort Myers this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big test. Their strength of schedule in out of conference isn't great, so they're not getting a ton of tests. But this is a team that, if you remember the last few years, they would just look pathetic at times in games that they should just blow teams out. And then they would have a big win, and then it would come back, and they'd look sloppy and lose a game they shouldn't be. So while they're not playing the best of competition, we can learn a lot about this team, over that next 3 to 4 weeks before they get into SEC play against Ole Miss. I believe it's January 4th is the opening SEC game against Ole Miss.
Yeah, and then back over to football real quick. I just wanted to get your thoughts on newly signed defensive lineman Chris McClellan signing with Florida today. How does he fit in with the future of the Gator football program?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big pickup, and it's an odd pickup. I'll be the first to admit it. You don't usually see highly ranked prospects commit to a school that doesn't have a head coach. But Chris McClellan was pretty mature about it. He said, listen, I've been silently committed to Florida for 3 weeks. Florida's where I want to go. I know I can get to Florida and play early. There's a huge need at defensive tackle when the 3 transfers all graduate this year. So it'll be him and Gervin Dexter really manning inside. And so he said he loved the University of Florida. He loved everything about it. He hopes that defensive line coach David Turner returns next year. But if not, he's happy with the decision he made and happy with the way he can fit in and play early there. And he's a guy that's going to enroll in school January 9th. So it's going to be important for, whichever coach it is, if it's Napier, if it's Stoops, if it's somebody else, whoever it is, to really get on the job, hire a defensive line coach, and get out and see McClellan and kind of wrap this thing up as December 15th gets here for that early signing day.
Great stuff, as always, Andrew. He is a writer for GatorCountry.com, and if you want some great insight on what's going on with the Florida Gators, you got to check him out on GatorCountry.com. Hey, thanks, Andrew. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you guys too. Thanks.
Yes, sir. All right, you're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs, and tomorrow from 10:30 to 2:30, Corms is feeding anyone who shows up or as long as supplies last. If you don't have anything to do on Thanksgiving, you can volunteer at Corms to help them out. What you got, old school?
That's not tomorrow. It's
Thursday. Yeah, I don't know. We're going to be here tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, they can come feed us.
Come feed us. No, but Thursday at Corms, if you want to volunteer, that would be great. If you don't have anywhere to eat, from 10:30 to 2:30, or as long as supplies last. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
You know, sometimes you go to a party and it's about who's at the party. And sometimes you go to a party or a wedding and it's like the story is who didn't go to the party or wedding. And this last couple of weeks in the NFL isn't just about who's playing. It's about who's not playing. It's late November. Injuries are piling up. Those decimate the bad teams.
Colin Cowherd. Weekdays 11 to 2, ESPN, Northwest Florida.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida are proud members of the Panama City Beach Chamber. We'd like to welcome the newest members to the Beach Chamber.
Amco Transmission and Total Car Care, PCB. Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Beach Properties of Florida. Eileen Shaw. Cubez Tropical Seafood and Oyster Bar, LLC. David Wesley. And Doorways of Northwest Florida.
Congratulations from the area's only sports radio station, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hi, this is Bobby Likas with today's Car Clinic Minute. So your hot new sports car flies, hugging hairpin curves and stopping on a dime. Don't be so sure. Stopping on a dime can cost a pretty penny. When I come back, I'll change your mind about braking distance.
The Car Clinic Minute.
It's Bobby Likas Car Clinic, brought to you locally by Hewitt Tire and Auto.
Call 850-769-7323.
Your certified AAA service center and hometown towing.
Visit them online at HewittTire.com.
On Airport Road in Panama City.
That's 850-769-7323. Hewitt Tire and Auto Center and Hometown Towing.
Bet your bottom dollar you cannot stop on a dime. And it'll cost more than a wooden nickel if you rear-end a car while tailgating. Protect your bank account and your life by remembering the golden rule of braking. Leave at least 4 seconds of distance between you and the car ahead. Why? Under ideal conditions, perception and reaction times add up to about 2 seconds. But if you're tired, distracted, or under the influence, perception, reaction, and braking distance are dramatically increased. So forget about stopping on a dime. Instead, use your heads and don't tailgate. I'm Bobby Likas. Like us, you'll love us.
Now back to the most dangerous afternoon show on terrestrial radio.
Danger's my middle name.
It's illegal in 5 states. The Afternoon Underdogs, live from the Slim Chicken Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Slim Chicken Studio on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs on a beautiful Tuesday evening. And tell me where, Boston Tim, the listeners need to go to watch or listen to the Alabama-Auburn game.
Absolutely. You want to come watch the Iron Bowl at the one and only Pineapple Willie's on 9875 South Thomas Drive. Even though you didn't need to know that, come check us out. We've got more than 20 70-inch TVs inside and out. And, of course, we do have the listening boxes so you can watch your game and listen to another one, whatever you want to do. And if you let them know that you heard it here on ESPN 104.3 Northwest Florida, you get yourself a free appetizer during that Auburn game, or half-off appetizers during any of the other football games on Saturday, Sunday, and $20 buckets of beer, all beer in the house included.
All right, man, and that Alabama-Auburn game is going to be right here on our air, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Now let's get into some dogs and locks, and the guy you got to listen to here normally is going to be Boston Tim, and I'll tell you why. Because last week in my dogs, college football, I was 0 for 2. In the NFL, I was 0 for 1 with my underdogs. I had Michigan State trying to cover that 19, not even close. SMU with that 11.5, not even close. And then Dallas with that 2.5 points, not even close. In my locks, though, in college football, I did a little bit better. I had Minnesota covering 7.5 points against Indiana. They did that. I had Rutgers and Penn State staying under 46 points, and they completed that one. But in the NFL for my locks, I had the Ravens minus 4.5 against Chicago. They didn't cover that. And, you know, if I would have known Lamar Jackson on Thursday when we did our dogs and locks wasn't going to be in the game, I would have taken the Bears. I actually had the Bears head up in my NFL pick'em. And then I had the Green Bay Packers to cover 1.5 points against the Vikings, and that did not work out. So let's get into our college football and NFL dogs and locks of the week. And let's start with old school in the world of college football. Give me your lock for college football.
Boy. My lock this week is because of the name of the field.
Because of the name of the field. All right, let's get into it.
The name of the field.
Go ahead and put your mortgage on that one, people.
The name of the field is Kyle Field. My first name is Kyle.
And nothing's happening at Kyle Field, is there?
Yeah, well, no. But A&M plays there on a regular basis. So it's kind of like, I like the color of the uniforms, So my lock is Texas A&M giving 6.5 to LSU at home. So I'm saying take the Aggies all the way.
All right, that's his lock. What do you got for locks, Boston Tim?
Wow.
I love your reasoning to get there. Listen. All right, y'all, a little behind the scenes here. Old school's like, how does Boston Tim come up with those numbers, like against the spread? Where does he find those at? So I show it to him. Like, we look for a certain place, and I show him where he can find that, where he can find those numbers at. And as soon as I show him that, he's just, I'll just pick this team. I'm like, okay, so that did a world of good for you.
Inane. Much.
What you got locked up, Boston T?
I've got a couple of them, of course.
Bet the farm on it.
Right. I think that pick is probably about as absent as the football teams will be at that stadium. So let's go ahead and move on to some picks that might win you guys some money this weekend. One of them is going to be a solid pick, and it's the team that I've stuck with the entire year that's only not covered the spread 2 times, and that's, of course, the best team in all of Texas, UTSA. They're going to be giving 10.5 points, but it's to North Texas. All right, so I think that should be a clear and easy win. They might even actually win by 3 touchdowns.
Not yet, old school. We're doing our locks. We'll do the dogs in the next segment, okay? All right.
And then we're going to go to another Texas matchup, which I think is also an easy, clear, and concise win. And I'm betting 2 on this particular matchup. One will be the over, and the other will be Baylor in itself, giving 14 points to Texas Tech. I also think that will be a 3-touchdown victory game.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No. We're getting into the dogs in the next segment. All right.
But
So I think Purdue's absolutely going to cover the 15 points. They're at the house against the Indiana Hoosiers. That's 2 weeks in a row that I'm picking against the Hoosiers, and for good reason. I like Purdue there. And then also Iowa, who's on the road against Nebraska, but it's only a 1.5 point spread. I think Iowa is pretty safe right there. And then last but not least, I think Right State Chris, if you're listening, you'll enjoy this one. Cincinnati needs another big win, right? I mean, you got to compile these wins that show off what you can do to the playoff committee. So I got Cincinnati covering 14 points on the road against East Carolina. Let's give them some locks for the NFL. Old school, do you got your lock for the NFL?
I do. My lock for the NFL this week is I want you to take the Washington football team over Seattle. Seattle they're just coming apart at the seams. There's a problem inside in the leadership. Pete Carroll. It's just, I mean, we still remember the Seattle of a few years ago with the Legion of Boom, and it's not there anymore. So Seattle is now, I think they're in last place in their division. Washington football team is somewhat surging. Heineke is playing better. He's cut down on his turnovers. So bet the farm on Washington over Seattle.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that one, and that hurts me to say because it was your pick, but it's right. It's going to be right because they're literally, like you said, falling apart at the seams. The hunt that the thing that they're chasing right now is what they need the most. And that's one of the top 10 draft picks, and they're not going to get that by winning, right?
That's
so
correct.
I think they're going to continue on doing what they're doing. They're playing average, and I think at the end of this season, and we were just discussing it with some friends of mine up at Ebro, they're probably going to begin to dismantle the team, and it's going to be a rebuild for a couple of years, I think.
You got any locks, Boston Tim?
I absolutely have some locks, of course. One of them will be Cleveland's going to be going into Baltimore, and at home, I really like Baltimore. Lamar should be back. There should be no other issues, and I, of course, would get the hook on this. It's at 3.5 points.
Mm-hmm.
I'd buy the half a point and get it down to 3.
Wait. Define what you mean by get the hook.
He was in the middle of that before you
Right.
said, wait.
So when you are giving 3.5 points, a half point is considered a hook.
Oh, okay.
And it's called a hook because they give you the half point to hook you in to buying it, thinking that you're getting
And
extra
what does it
because
cost to buy a hook?
of it. So typically when you're betting straight up, it's a negative 110. So you'd bet $110 to win 100. And so when you buy that hook, it typically is another 20 points. So you'd be at 130. So you'd have to bet $130 to
Just
win
to win
100. Right. So I have Baltimore there with 3.5 points, taking the hook down to 3 over Cleveland at home. And then Pittsburgh traveling into Cincinnati. You talk about Cincinnati needing a big win. That was college. I think the same thing's going to happen in the NFL. I think that the defense for Pittsburgh has stepped up great over the last couple of weeks. But even though Ben's back and a little bit healthier, he's still a diminished man compared to who he was in the past. And I just don't think they're going to get over a surging offense in Cincinnati. An absolute rookie of the year hopeful, Jamar Chase.
No doubt about it. That's a really good one. For me, I'm going to go to Thursday night football on, the night game on Thanksgiving. Buffalo needs to bounce back from that ugly loss to the Colts. And the New Orleans Saints, even though they're at the house, they just haven't been able to – they're just too injured. They're decimated right now. So I think Buffalo has to prove something right here. I like Buffalo covering 4.5 points. I like the Eagles over the Giants, 3.5 points. We saw it's. Can you even sit down and really watch a Giants football game? That last night, if it wasn't for the Manning cast, I don't know if I would have been into that game past early into the third quarter. You know what I mean? Like the TV would have been on mute. It would have been on one of the other screens, and I would have been focusing on Madden or something like that. And there was sometimes at points during that game last night that I was totally focused in on the Indiana-Chicago Bulls game last night. Which is rare but it's rare for my eyes to gravitate. Like if football's on the screen, right, that the only one that can really pull my eyes off of it, sometimes playoff baseball, majority of the time, but it's tough when both of them are on. Olympic curling is up there, but not quite up there. And then hockey. For some reason, hockey, when it's on, I know a lot of people are like, I can't stand to watch it. Like going to the games is great or whatever. But I've gotten to the point now, and they've gotten so much better at broadcasting the games. That hockey really catches my attention, man. I'll be looking like I got ADD, like, ooh, what's going on here? And then last but not least, I shared the same sentiment with Boston Tim, with or without the hook. I like Baltimore with 3.5 points, but I like them better with 3 because they'll probably win by 4.
Yeah, I can't off the top of my head think of a body part that Baker Mayfield does not have injured. So
yeah, and they're more than likely gonna go with him. And I read an article that said, oh, well, you got Case Keenum, and then you plug him in for this game against the Ravens, and then you've got the bye week coming up. Well, no, yes, that's true, but you should have started with Detroit. You should have started there, start the healing process, feel it out, see what you got going. What did I say? You should what?
I mean, I'm just trying to listen to your absolutely heinous conversation. Continue on.
So you think they should? You think they should have went with Baker against the Lions?
Baker Mayfield's a grown man.
He's a grown actual man.
He reminds me of quarterbacks of the old. This is how quarterbacks are supposed to play. And listen, don't get me wrong. Some of them didn't make it out with the best mindset, i.e., like a Jim McMahon, per se. You know what I'm saying? But he was a hard-nosed football player, and he went back out there regardless of the injury. If you can play, you go out there.
I'm not talking about from Baker Mayfield's perspective. I'm talking about from the Cleveland Browns' perspective. You're going up against an 0-8-1 team, or what? Yeah, that's what they were at the time. Yeah, you could have rested your starting quarterback, put Case Keenum in, handed the ball off to Nick Chubb 30 times, Dearness Johnson 20 times. Boom, that's 50 times right there. Throw the ball 22 times with Case Keenum if you need to and see what happens. Or just throw Jarvis Landry at quarterback and let him run up the middle to get a touchdown. It'll probably only work once
And
a
then
game.
get hurt.
And then
Interesting
get
to
hurt.
watch for sixth place. Yeah. Be over.
You're absolutely right
It'd
about
be
that.
just the cat offense,
But
not the Wildcat.
not the Wildcat. All right, hey, when we get back, we're going to be doing our dogs, but don't forget about Corms. This is Thursday from 10:30 to 2:30, or as long as supplies last. If you don't have anything to do on Thanksgiving, you can volunteer at Corms. Just show up at around 10. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
My weather forecast overnight, mostly clear, chilly, 40 to 45 by dawn, an east wind about 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, mostly sunny in the mid-60s, light east winds. Thanksgiving Day, partly to mostly sunny around 70. There might be a few showers Friday, highs in the mid to upper 60s, partly sunny. We'll keep you updated. This weather forecast has been brought to you by All About Garage Doors, your garage door repair specialist. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
It's the Coach James Hale Show, weekday mornings 7 till 9 on your station for the best local sports talk. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Yeah, and I think it'll be pretty rapid. I think it'll happen right after the FSU game, I'm thinking.
They're going to name someone pretty quick because recruiting is too valuable commodity to lose at this point in time. You got to have it.
I think they got to list 2 or 3 guys. They already know what they're going to do.
As soon as they call me, I'll give you a call.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Are you thinking about buying or selling real estate in the Panama City area? Think Real Estate is your team of local experts who simply love living and working in Bay County and helping others make their dreams come true through the exchange of homes and properties. We strive to provide excellent customer service in residential, commercial, and investment sales, as well as property management by combining classic customer service with crazy fresh marketing. Visit our website, whenyouthink.com.
Green. Football season is here, and the party is at Pineapple Willie's with all the big screens and speakers right at your table. Plus, with NFL Ticket, Pineapple Willie's has all the games, so you can watch the game you want. Dive into buckets of beer for the table and get half off on select appetizers every Saturday and Sunday in the football viewing area. Football and Pineapple Willie's go together like Tom Brady and winning. Pineapple Willie's, let go. Pineapple Willie's, you can just let go.
Small business owners of Bay County, are you aware of the recent changes in the credit card industry that could affect how much you pay for credit card processing? With over 30 years experience right here in Bay County, Merchant Management Group is ready to help your business take advantage of these changes and in some cases eliminate all fees for accepting credit card. Other businesses have already made the change. Call Merchant Management Group today to schedule a no obligation appointment. 850-747-0664.
They said it couldn't be done. The Afternoon Underdogs are live in the Slim Chicken studio.
They say it can't be done.
Are we going to do what they say can't be done?
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Throw your hands in the air if you's a true player.
Welcome back into the Slim Chicken studio here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes. We've got Boston Tim, old school, in the building. And tell the people where they need to go if they want the greatest oil change in the land.
Well, I mean, the home of the $30 oil change, obviously you want to go over to Certified Gearhead Motorsports across from Pete Edwards Field. And especially if you're going to be traveling this weekend and taking your kids to one of the competitions, whether it's football or whatever, make sure that your car is prepared and ready. So stop by over there at Certified Gearhead Motorsports, get yourself one of those $30 synthetic oil changes, and make sure you're ready for your road trip.
All right, triple header for Thursday is going to be Chicago at Detroit, followed by the Raiders and the Cowboys, and last but not least, the Buffalo Bills and the New Orleans Saints. And then Sunday, we've got the Steelers and the Bengals, the Chargers and the Broncos, and the Browns and the Ravens. And then Kansas City and Denver will be flexed into, I believe it's the Monday Night Football game for next week, but I'll have to do a double check on that. Let's get into our dogs for the week. Old school, who's your dog for college football?
Well,
got a little dead air there for a second.
Well, I mean, I know that Tim's favorite team has been the University of Texas at San Antonio Roadrunners. Did you even know they were called the Road Runners?
Yeah, because every time that he brings them up, I'm over here going, meep, meep.
Well,
that's even from back in your day. You should,
you should know that.
Yeah, Wile E. Coyote. But my dog of the week, and I'm going against Tim's lock. I have been around the University of North Texas program a little bit, and those guys, they feel slighted because they're all good players, and they wanted to go to Baylor, or they wanted to go to Texas Tech, or they wanted to go to A&M, or they wanted to go to Texas, or one of the bigger schools, and they just didn't get recruited. So whenever they get an opportunity to take on a team that is surging and really people are beginning to take notice of, even though they're on the same level as the Mean Green of North Texas, they come out spitting fire. So my dog is the Mean Green, getting 10.5 from the University of Texas at San Antonio Roadrunners.
Boston Tim, we got about close to 3 minutes here, closer to 2 minutes now. Give us your dogs for college football.
All right, so I won't ask you why they call him the Mean Green and have a falcon or something.
Yeah, you can spend the rest of the day with
that. Let's go ahead. So I have a
Eagles.
ton of dogs this week, especially in the NFL, but let me go ahead and jump out there and start with my dogs for college, 2 of them. One of them being a homer pick, and I wouldn't put any money on it, but I'm going to take the 5 points with Boston College at home against Wake Forest. They haven't been great, but they've been playing well against better teams. I like them to do so continuously. I also like going to Liberty, the Army, getting 3.5 points. I think that's fantastic. I think not only do they go in there and have a great game, but they win over Liberty.
That's some good ones. We'll get into some in the NFL real quick. Old school, what do you got?
The reason why they're called the Mean Green is because their most famous alumni is Mean Joe Green of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so they began being called the Mean Green, and then it just became official.
That's ridiculous. That's because it's more important about the name on the front of the jersey than the name on the back of the jersey. College football dogs. I like Florida State, man. I'm just going to go out on a limb here. I probably wouldn't put money on this one either. But I'll take Florida State with the 2.5 points going to Gainesville to take on Florida. Old school, you're picking that up, not I. Number 7, Michigan State is a 1-point dog on the road at Penn State. I like Michigan State to win that game because they need to after a ugly loss to Ohio State. And then in the Battle of North Carolina, I like North Carolina with the 5 points up against North Carolina State. Boston Tim, let's get over to the NFL.
Absolutely. I got 5 dogs this week, and I think all of them have the opportunity to win, not just cover the spread. But the two that I have locked in right here,
Titans at the Patriots.
One of them is going to be Minnesota at San Francisco, getting 3 points. I don't think they need the 3 points. I think they win that game outright. And the other one, and of course, and always, any team playing against Atlanta, that team, this time it's going to be the Jacksonville, and for whatever reason, they're getting a point at home. I'll take it. Two W's right there on those 2 games. The other 3 quick ones that I have will be the Dolphins, the Jets, and if Taylor continues to play the way that he does, they will beat the Buccaneers.
Ooh, yes, sir. I agree with that because I have them on my dogs as well. They're getting 2.5 points against the Bucs. Love it. I also like the Titans. Maybe this is just a little bit of a homer pick here, but I like the Titans to stick within 6.5 points. And then Atlanta and Jacksonville, I didn't know which way to go, so I went with the under of 46.5 points. The under there. Old school, what is your dog for the NFL?
Anyone playing the Atlanta Falcons.
Anyone playing the Atlanta Falcons. That just so happens to be the Jaguars of Jacksonville, and they're playing in Jacksonville. So maybe Sam Kavaris and the Jacksonville Jags can get them one more win under their belt.
Never a better opportunity.
Never a better opportunity. It would be great to come in Monday and the Atlanta Falcons beat the Jaguars just for that reason right there. Well, it's been a great day. We'll be back tomorrow. It's going to be me, Kyle Wright, Old School Caveman Rick. It's going to be a little bit of a nostalgic day ahead of Thanksgiving, and we'll get into all of the big games from college football and the NFL upon us. We'll talk about the college football playoff rankings that are coming up tonight, man, right after the show. But we've got Paul Feinbaum coming up next. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll see you tomorrow at 4.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Iron Bowl, the wait,
364 days. The memory forever.
Handoff. Bigsby. He's to the 5.